Maki-san. Good afternoon, everyone. Maybe you are so tired due to the long session, but I'm the last presenter in this session. So I'm Michi Fukushima, professor of Tohoku University. My research area is regional enterprise and cluster on ecosystem. Today, I talk about the case of Singapore. I'm so sorry if you accept me to talk about Japanese case. I apologize in advance. But when I researched on Singapore ecosystem 2 years ago, I was so impressed. It is a university that fosters a global entrepreneur and establish their ecosystem. That's why I want to share the case with you. Okay, first I introduce the National University of Singapore. As you know, National University of Singapore is Singapore's flagship university. The university was founded in 1905. They have long history and tradition, and they have 11 departments. The university is also international. They accept foreign students from more than 100 countries. So recently, NEWS, I abbreviate the name of the university, NEWS. NEWS is famous for their academic excellence. According to the Times Higher Education University ranking in 2001, NEWS ranked in 21st in the world, the third in Asia. Oops. So, however, before 2000, they show different figure. From now on, Singapore were not more entrepreneurial than today. There are some events that made them change. The first, economic crisis drove them to change. Around 2000, Singapore suffered some economic crises. For example, Asia currency crisis occurred in 1997, IT bubble burst in 2000, September 11 terrorist attack in 2001. All the events damaged Singaporean economy. And as a result, GDP growth was stagnated around 2000. Under the circumstances, NEWS had a new president. In 2001, Shi Chong-fong took office as the president of NEWS. As soon as Shi became a president, he started reforming of NEWS. And his target was to transform NEWS into the research-oriented and entrepreneurial university. As a first step, Professor Wong Po-Kam conducted a survey of NEWS students to make sure how much the students were entrepreneurial and what factor had effect on it. His survey turned out that student attitude to entrepreneurs were varied by sex, occupational of their family member, and education they received. Especially Professor Wong paid attention to the last factor, education. He realized that they could change the last factor. And Professor Wong started providing the lecture, Technology Entrepreneurship. The class was offered to all students of NEWS. And 2001, they founded NEWS Enterprise. It is an organization. This organization started with offering incubation spaces for entrepreneurs on campus and supporting their activities. And the second step in 2002, NEWS Enterprises started providing the innovative entrepreneur education program, NEWS Overseas College, which is abbreviated and called NOC. The program was created with Singtel Innovate and Media Development Authority and NEWS Enterprises. So simply speaking, in this program, NEWS students were sent to the cities where their university signed exchange agreement with NEWS, and there were many active entrepreneurs. The student experienced taking class of the university, and they also work for startup as intern. The duration of the program is varied, but normally from 3 months to a year. At first, News Enterprise sent a student to Stanford University in 2002. And since then, News Enterprise increased the partner university and cities. Now they had 12 programs and 15 cities. And NOC Alumni. NOC was a very innovative program to inspire and change the student. Experience of the internship at the startup awakened the student entrepreneurship spirit. They saw what was going on in the startups. Sometimes they were present as the scene of awful situation, such as the CEO was fired in the board meeting, and they were so feel fear. But they also excited to see them. So they witnessed and experienced the real startups. After NOC program, returned students showed the changes. Compare with students who didn't attend NOC program, the differences are clear. Average new student who didn't NOC program and started business is just 2%. On the other hand, NOC alumni were over 30%. The impact of the program was clear. The number of the students who attend NOC program increased. The culture of NOC news had started changing. In 2020, now 3,400 students finished the program. So in fact, NOC alumni started 300 companies. They wanted to start business around the campus. However, there were not enough places and spaces to accept them on campus, around 2,000. So it was so coincident that all factories near the campus were about to be demolished. Ala Yaja Industry Park was an old factory which located in the middle of Singapore, close to News. The industry park was about to demolish in 2010. Just before the shutdown, and MDA and the News Enterprises and the think tank Innovate found the place and negotiated with its owner, Drone Town Corporation. And they struck a deal with its owner and provide 5 floors of the building to startups in their infancy. And convinced by News Enterprises and MAD and Innovate, Town Corporation decided to renovate the building and launch it as an incubator. At the end of the day, the innovated building was opened in April 2011, called Block 71. Just after that, about 60 firms had entered there. In 2012, various stakeholders, like investors, incubator, accelerator, blah, 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 moved in the Block 71. So Block 71 housed 250 startups and 30 incubators in 2017. So here is a map of around Block 17. Block 17 is here. Close to the Block 71, there is a Fusionopolis here. This is the R&D complex. It houses various research and research company and high-tech company, government agency, retail outlet, and service apartment in one building. And News is here. This is also close. By the end of the 2015, JTC added more blocks added. block 73, 79. You can you see the number of building? Number 79 and 73. Oh, sorry, I cannot see it. But anyway, 2 buildings are added. And the next year, 3 more buildings are added. Block 75, 77, 81. JTC also renamed the startup enclave, JTC Launchpad at One North. In 2080, there were 800 startups and 50 supportive organizations in this area, such as incubator, accelerator, venture capitalist, and startups there in the building. They are still waiting list. And Block 71 was very famous in the world. The famous economic magazine, Economist, reported this building as the world's most tightly packed entrepreneurial ecosystem in 2014. So what type of people reside in Block 71? Majority is residents are NOC alumni. Experience gained from NOC program played a critical role in shaping businesses. And in 2012, 3,400 students finished the program and 30% of them decided to start businesses. And they enter when they start a business, they enter the Block 71. But not all NOC alumni founded startup. Instead, some NOC alumni hold key position in startup enabler, I mean the supporter of the startup, such as national government, large company, investment firm, consulting firm, attorney, and some accountant, whatever. They supported NOC alumni who started businesses. And NOC alumni also formed formal and informal network, and they are called NOC Mafia. The NOC Mafia combine people of similar background and motivation together. So NOC Mafia was the backbone of the Singapore startup ecosystem. The second feature the people, residents in the Block 17 were their various academic background. I checked the academic background of startup founder who reside in Block 71 as much as I can. It turned out that graduate of news at Nanyang Technology University, which is another famous university in Singapore, majority, 254, 138. On the other hand, graduate from foreign universities such as INSEAD and Stanford, Harvard, University of Cambridge, MIT, University of Sydney, or your country, housed in Block 71. This is a general survey, the news alumni, where the news alumni start business. 66% of them start their business in Singapore. The next place is San Francisco in the US, the India, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Germany, UK for them. It turned out some NUS news alumni who founded startup expanded their business into the world. So supporting the startup, they try to globalize. The Block 71 also expanded their activity globally. They are set up the branches outside Singapore. Now they have 5 branches in the world, San Francisco and Suzhou in China, and Jakarta, Bandung, Yogyakarta in Indonesia. The branch helps the Singaporean entrepreneur in the place. Additionally, they are trying to recruit foreign entrepreneurs and convince them to start their business in Singapore. So Block 71 also impacted on local economy, especially on startup community in Singapore. The number of co-working spaces and incubation have increased since 2011. In 2018, the number was over 100 in Singapore. And if we include service offices and other supporting spaces, there are more than 180 flexible office spaces are provided in Singapore. In addition, investment, VC, investment by VC gathered to Singapore. The amount of investment have surged year by year, but in 2012, maybe due to the COVID-19, the numbers dropped radically, though, but totally, they show the increase. Okay, I talked about the Singapore ecosystem. The Singapore ecosystem, the center of the Singapore ecosystem is news. News do a lot of things to encourage students to be an entrepreneur. So we can learn a lot. And lastly, I talked about the lesson learned from the story of news. And in Singapore, entrepreneurial education, such as NOC, was done first, and they fostered the entrepreneur on campus. After that, the number had increased and reached the critical mass. They offer the space and building they could be housed. I think human resource management, human development should precede build some building science park, whatever. What it comes to talking science park, we tend to pay attention to their hardware, what type of building we should build. But we should focus on collecting entrepreneur first, till the number of entrepreneurs reach the critical mass. The second is we need to provide the place and space to convene entrepreneurs and facilitate their mingling when they build science park or incubator. The third, when we make such a spaces, we need to keep in mind to diversity. Diversity is necessary for encourage galvanize some community. One of the competitive advantage of Singapore is diversity of people. They gather the international. They gather the entrepreneur, very variety of nationality. The Singapore took 20 years since they started to change. And being patient is needed if we try to establish some science park or whatever. So keep working and continue the program matter in the process. So I'm Japanese, and Japanese can learn a lot from the experience of Singapore. I hope you can get some takeaway from my presentation. Thank you for your attention. That's all.